Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're tackling something a lot of you have been asking about,
Oh, yeah.
using Stoic wisdom to
Right.
declutter
Right.
not just your physical space, right, but
Yeah.
mental and emotional baggage too.
It's a good one.
Yeah, so we've got some fascinating source material for this one.
Cool.
It's excerpts from this podcast script
Okay.
that analyzes Book 10 of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations,
Nice.
focusing specifically on the themes of simplicity and rationality.
I love Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, and these might sound a bit dry at first,
Right.
but I think you'll be surprised how relevant they are
For sure.
to our lives like today.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because Stoicism is so often reduced to this idea of just
yeah.
enduring hardship,
Yeah.
right?
Just like gritting your teeth and bearing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this deep dive into Marcus Aurelius's work
Yeah.
shows that it's really about making conscious choices about what we focus on
Right.
in order to live a more fulfilling life.
Yeah, it's almost like a philosophy of minimalism for the mind.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's like Marie Kondo for your thoughts. Instead of tidying up your sock drawer,
Right.
you're figuring out which mental baggage to let go of.
I love that.
But what did Marcus Aurelius actually mean by
Yeah, that's the fight.
simplicity and rationality, right?
Right.
And how can we even begin to apply these ideas today
Yeah.
in our world that's so
Oh, my
to
goodness.
the connected and chaotic and everything?
That's the key question. Right?
Yeah.
How can we
possibly?
how can we take those ancient principles
Yeah.
and apply them to this crazy modern life?
Yeah.
How do we cut through all the noise and distractions to get to that inner peace
Yeah.
that I think we all crave?
Totally.
So we're going to explore that, and we're going to look at some practical techniques from Book 10
I'm
that
ready.
we can all use.
I'm ready to declutter my mind.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the source material really emphasizes this idea of
Right.
simplicity as like a pathway to happiness.
Okay.
And Marcus Aurelius has this great quote where he says,
Uh-huh.
"Very little is needed for a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking."
It's so true.
Right.
It really is.
So good.
And that quote just perfectly sums up
Yeah.
the Stoic approach to simplicity.
Okay.
It's not about deprivation or, like living like a monk.
Right.
It's about intentionally focusing on what really matters.
Okay.
Virtue, reason, inner peace.
Yeah.
And letting go of all that external stuff.
Yeah, it's about lightening the load.
Yeah.
Right? Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally.
Exactly.
It's interesting because that really resonates
Mm.
with what we're seeing
Something-
in all these modern minimalist movements too.
It does.
People are realizing that happiness isn't about accumulating more stuff.
Yeah.
It's about living with intention and appreciating what we already have.
Yeah, totally. And I think the Stoics were really onto something
Yeah.
centuries ago.
Way ahead of their time.
They understood that true happiness isn't found in external things,
Yeah.
but in cultivating our inner world.
Okay, so where does rationality fit into all of this? Is this where we get that whole
Oh.
stiff upper lip stereotype of stoicism?
Right.
No,
not at all.
really?
Stoic rationality is about so much more than just suppressing your emotions.
Okay.
It's about applying reason to every single aspect of our lives.
So instead of just reacting emotionally to a situation, we're encouraged to pause and really think it through.
Exactly.
Respond with logic and reason.
Precisely.
This is kind of blowing my mind.
I know, right?
It's so simple, but so powerful.
Well, one of the core Stoic teachings is that it's not external events themselves
Yeah.
that cause us suffering.
Okay.
It's our own judgments about them.
Oh, that's interesting.
We have the power to change those judgments through reason.
So it's not the event itself that's causing us pain. It's
Right.
our interpretation of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can actually change that.
You can.
Wow, that is empowering.
It is.
It means we're not just victims of circumstance. We
Mm.
have agency in how we interpret and respond to the world.
You got it.
God, I'm thinking about all the times I've gotten so worked up
Oh, yeah.
about things that were totally outside of my control.
Me too.
If I had just taken a moment to pause,
Uh-huh.
apply some stoic reasoning,
Right.
maybe I could have saved myself so much stress.
Absolutely. And, Marcus Aurelius, even as an emperor,
Right.
he constantly reminded himself to come back to this principle.
It's so easy to forget.
He knew how easily we can get swept up
Yeah.
in the chaos of daily life
Yeah.
and lose sight of what matters.
Totally. So how do we avoid getting swept up in all of that?
Right.
That chaos.
Big question.
The source material mentions the importance of avoiding distractions and complexities.
It does.
Is this where the minimalist aspect comes back in?
Absolutely. Marcus Aurelius saw all those distractions and complexities as obstacles to virtuous living.
Interesting.
And he encouraged us to simplify our mental landscape.
I love that he used the word landscape.
Me too.
It's picturing our minds as these
If.
Cluttered spaces that need to be decluttered.
Totally.
Just like our homes.
Yeah, and just like decluttering our homes
Yeah.
can bring a sense of peace and order,
Yeah.
decluttering our minds can lead to greater clarity
Okay.
and inner peace.
So how do we actually do that, though?
Right.
Like,
Good question.
we can't just, like, throw out our thoughts like old clothes.
You can't just like Marie Kondo your brain
Right.
and be like,
Bok choy, get out of here.
exactly.
So what do we do?
Well, we can definitely become more mindful
Okay.
of which thoughts we choose to entertain.
Okay.
And there's another powerful quote from Marcus Aurelius that relates to this.
Okay.
He says, if you remove your judgment about that which appears to give you pain, you yourself stand in perfect security. And who is this self? Reason.
Wow.
Right.
It sounds like he's saying a lot of our suffering comes from
Yep.
our own judgments and interpretations of events.
Totally.
Rather than the events themselves.
Exactly.
So it's about learning to question those thoughts.
Yeah.
To challenge those, like, negative narratives we tell ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
And by applying reason and objectivity, we can start to detach
Yeah.
from those unhelpful thoughts,
Okay.
cultivate a more peaceful and balanced mental state.
It's like hitting the unsubscribe button
Yes.
on those, like, negative mental newsletters.
I love that.
That bombard us with worry and anxiety all the time.
Unsubscribe from negativity.
Yeah.
It's so simple but powerful.
It is.
Right?
It is.
And it's something we can practice every day.
Hmm.
The more we're aware of our thoughts
Yeah.
and we choose to focus on those that are constructive,
Mm-hmm.
aligned with our values,
Yeah.
the more we create that mental space
Yeah.
for peace and clarity.
It's like creating a sanctuary for our minds.
A safe haven
Yeah.
from the noise and distractions of the world.
Yes. I love that.
So good.
Okay, this is all starting to make sense.
Okay.
But I'm still wondering, like, how we actually put these ideas into practice.
Of course.
Like, what specific techniques does Book 10 offer for
Yeah.
actually cultivating simplicity and passionality?
Okay, so there are several practical techniques
Okay.
that we can glean from Marcus Aurelius's writing.
Okay.
And, for example, he was a huge proponent
Okay.
of what we might call minimalist living.
Okay, so is he talking about getting rid of all of our possessions?
Uh-huh.
Living like a hermit?
Well, not necessarily. It's
Eh.
more about being mindful of our consumption
Okay.
and our attachment.
Okay.
Marcus Aurelius himself simplified his own life,
Hmm.
and he focused on essential virtues
Yeah.
over material possessions and those fleeting pleasures.
Hmm.
And he encourages us to do the same.
It's one of his quote about that.
Oh, there's a powerful one where he urges us to remember that even if we were to live 3,000 years
Okay.
or even 30,000,
Wow.
we should prioritize virtue and reason above all else.
Wow.
Essentially, he's saying that the pursuit of material wealth
Yeah.
and fleeting pleasures will never truly satisfy us.
It's like that saying, you can't take it with you.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
In the end, what really matters is
Yeah.
the kind of person we've become.
Yes.
And the impact we've had on the world.
Absolutely.
So minimalist living is one technique.
It is.
What else does Marcus Aurelius suggest?
Well, he also emphasized rational decision-making.
Okay.
So that means choosing a course of action
Uh-huh.
based on logic reason,
Okay.
Stoic principles,
Okay.
rather than impulsive reaction
Oh.
or emotional sway.
So instead of just like
Yeah.
reacting from the gut,
Right.
we're really thinking it through.
We're thinking it through.
Okay.
He actually uses this great analogy
Oh,
of
yeah.
the sun and the rain.
Okay.
He says they both have their unique functions,
Okay.
but they work together for a common purpose.
So it's about aligning our actions
Yes.
with reason
Yes,
and a greater purpose.
exactly.
Just like the sun and rain are working together for
Yep.
like the benefit of all living things.
You got it.
Okay.
So it's about being intentional, thoughtful in our choices,
Yeah.
asking ourselves, is this decision logical?
Yeah.
Does it align with my values? Is it helping me live a more virtuous life?
It's like having a checklist
Yeah.
for our decisions.
Yeah.
Not just like reacting emotionally,
Right.
but really thinking through the consequences.
Exactly.
And whether they align with our goals.
And by incorporating that practice
Yeah.
of rational decision-making,
Hmm.
we can avoid so much unnecessary stress and regret
For sure.
and make choices that lead to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Okay, my mind is officially decluttered.
Okay.
Oh, just from this conversation.
I'm so glad. It's amazing how relevant
Yeah.
these ancient principles still are.
Yeah, right.
Totally.
It's incredible. I feel like we could talk about this for hours.
Oh, me too.
But I'm really curious to hear your personal take on this.
Oh, okay.
Like, what stood out to you most from these excerpts?
Yeah.
What resonated with you
Yeah, that's a great question.
on a personal level?
For me, what really stands out is the emphasis on inner transformation. Stoicism isn't just a set of rules or like
Yeah.
this rigid dogma.
Yeah.
It's a philosophy of self-improvement, continually striving to become the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating virtue and living in alignment with nature,
Mm.
both within ourselves and in the world around us.
So it's not about becoming emotionless or passive.
Right.
It's about harnessing our emotions
Yes.
and using them constructively.
Ah.
It's about becoming more resilient.
Yeah.
More rational, more capable of like living a fulfilling life,
Yes.
even when there are challenges and setbacks.
Absolutely. That's such a great way to put it.
It's like that Nietzsche quote,
Oh,
"What
yeah.
doesn't kill me makes me stronger."
I love that quote.
Of course, we're talking about like mental and emotional resilience here.
Right, of course.
Not literal physical harm.
Yes.
But Stoicism really does provide this framework,
It's
developing that inner strength.
totally. And it reminds us that we always have the power to choose our response
Yeah.
to any given situation,
Sure.
even those that seem overwhelmingly difficult.
So we're not just like reacting to life, we're actively shaping our experience of it.
We are.
But how does that actually play out? In
Right.
practical terms, like let's say you're dealing with a difficult person,
Okay.
a toxic boss,
Uh-huh.
or like a manipulative family member.
Right.
How can Stoicism help us navigate those tricky relationships?
Well, one of the most important Stoic principles for that is the recognition that we cannot control other people's behavior.
That sounds a bit frustrating.
It can be.
Does that mean we just have to like put up with bad behavior?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Acceptance doesn't mean that we condone their actions
Yeah.
or allow ourselves to be mistreated.
Right.
It just means recognizing the reality of the situation and focusing on what we can control,
Okay.
which is our own thoughts, emotions, actions.
It's like that serenity prayer.
Uh-huh.
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
Exactly.
the courage to change the things I can,
Yes.
and the wisdom to know the difference.
I love that.
Right.
And that wisdom comes from understanding those Stoic principles.
Yeah.
So we can choose to set boundaries, limit our interactions,
Okay.
or even walk away from the relationship,
Wow.
entirely if it's truly toxic.
So Stoicism gives us permission to prioritize our own well-being,
It does.
even if it means like distancing ourselves from
Yeah.
people who are causing us harm.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that our own mental and emotional health
Yeah.
is paramount.
It is. You
Right.
can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
And sometimes we need to prioritize ourselves
Yeah.
in order to show up fully for others.
It's like a Stoic take on self-care.
It is.
Not selfish. It's essential for
Yes.
living a virtuous life.
Exactly.
But, beyond just dealing with difficult people,
Yeah.
there are so many other challenges we face in our modern world.
Totally.
Well, what about the constant comparison trap of social media?
Oh my gosh.
The pressure to be productive and like achieve all the time?
Yes.
Can Stoicism help with that too?
I think it offers a really valuable perspective on those things.
Okay.
Remember those core principles?
Yeah.
Focusing on what we can control, living in accordance with nature,
Yeah.
finding contentment in virtue, rather than seeking external validation.
So instead of getting caught up
Right.
in that endless scroll of like curated perfection
Yes.
and achievement,
Totally.
we can choose to define success on our own terms,
That's
like
right.
creating our own internal compass rather than constantly looking to others for direction.
Yes. And recognizing that true fulfillment
Yeah.
comes from living in alignment
Yeah.
with our own values and purpose, not from chasing those external markers of success
Yeah.
that are often fleeting and superficial.
It's like that saying, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Right?
Totally.
Stoicism helps us reclaim that joy
It does.
by reminding us that our worth isn't determined by
Right.
our social media following our job title,
Yes.
the number of items on our to-do list.
Exactly. It's about tuning out the noise and focusing on what truly matters.
Yeah.
Our character, our relationships, our contributions to the world.
And that's where the practice of mindfulness comes in.
Oh, yes.
Which is something that's been rediscovered and
Right.
like popularized in recent years.
Totally.
But it was a key part of a Stoic practice
It was.
back in the day too.
It was.
So instead of like mindlessly scrolling through social media, comparing ourselves to others,
Right.
we can practice being present in the moment,
Yes.
appreciating the simple things,
Totally.
focusing on activities that genuinely nourish our souls.
Exactly. We can choose to spend our time with loved ones, engage in creative pursuits, or simply enjoy the peace and quiet of nature.
Yeah.
Those are the things that bring lasting fulfillment,
Yeah.
not the fleeting dopamine hits of likes and notifications.
It's about creating a life that's rich
Yes.
in experience
Yes.
and meaning,
Yeah.
not just a highlight reel for social media.
Exactly.
This brings us back to that idea of living in accordance with nature,
Yeah.
which you mentioned earlier.
Mm,
How do we actually do that
it's a great question.
in our modern world?
Yeah.
That feels so disconnected from nature.
It's one of the biggest challenges we face.
Yeah,
Living in accordance with nature doesn't mean we all have to become farmers
right.
or live off the grid.
Okay,
That's an option for some.
right.
It's more about recognizing our interconnectedness with the natural world
Mhm.
and striving to live in a way that honors that connection.
So it's about finding ways to bring nature into our lives, whether
Yes.
it's through spending time outdoors,
Right.
growing plants,
Right.
or just being more mindful of our impact on the environment.
Exactly. And it's also about embracing those natural cycles of life.
Okay.
The ebb and flow, the highs and lows,
Yeah.
those inevitable changes and challenges that
Yeah.
come with being human.
So instead of resisting or trying to control every aspect of our lives,
Right.
we can learn to kind of flow with the current,
Yes.
accept that there will be times of difficulty and challenge,
Uh-huh.
as well as times of ease and joy.
Precisely. It's about surrendering to the process of life, trusting that we're exactly where we need to be
Yeah.
in each moment,
Mm.
and finding beauty and meaning in every experience.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
It is.
But it also sounds like a pretty radical shift in perspective,
It is a shift.
especially in a culture that values control and achievement above all else.
But I think it's ultimately liberating.
Okay.
It allows us to let go of that constant striving,
Yeah.
that pressure to be perfect,
Yeah.
and simply be present in the moment. Appreciate the beauty and wonder of life as it unfolds.
It's like we're finally allowing ourselves to exhale
Yes.
and just be.
And that's when we can really connect with that inner peace
Yeah.
and find that deep sense of contentment
Yeah.
that's always been available to us.
This whole conversation is helping me rethink my relationship with
Mm.
control and achievement.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how clinging to those things can
Mhm.
actually create more stress and anxiety in the long run.
It's a common trap,
Yeah.
especially in our fast-paced,
Yeah.
achievement-oriented culture.
Totally.
But Stoicism reminds us that true freedom comes not from controlling external circumstances,
Okay.
but from mastering our own minds.
It's about shifting our focus
Yeah.
from what we can't control to what we can control.
Exactly.
Our thoughts, our actions, our response to the world around us.
Yes.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our experience of life,
We do.
even amidst challenging circumstances.
You've got it.
It's about cultivating that inner resilience,
Yeah.
that unshakable core of peace and strength
Yes.
that allows us to weather any storm.
I love that image.
Weathering the storm.
It's so relevant,
Feels so relevant.
but especially in these uncertain times.
Totally.
And it's empowering
Yeah.
to know that we have those inner resources to navigate whatever life throws our way.
Those resources are always available to us.
They are.
Even when we feel lost or overwhelmed.
Even that.
Stoicism gives us a roadmap.
It does.
It gives us a set of principles and practices
Yes.
that can help us reconnect with our inner strength and find our way back to peace.
It's like having a compass
Yeah.
to guide us through the wilderness.
But unlike a physical compass,
Right.
this one points us inward,
It does.
towards our own inner wisdom and resilience.
Beautiful analogy.
This has been a truly eye-opening deep dive.
I'm so glad.
I feel like I'm starting to understand Stoicism on a whole new level.
Awesome.
It's not just about enduring hardship.
Right.
It's about thriving amidst the challenges and uncertainties of life.
Exactly. And the beauty of Stoicism is that it's a practice, a journey of continual growth and discovery.
Yeah.
The more we delve into it,
Yeah.
the more we uncover its relevance
Totally.
and its power to transform our lives.
It's a philosophy that's both ancient and incredibly timely.
It is.
It feels like exactly what we need in our modern world.
I couldn't agree more.
This has been such a fantastic conversation.
It has been.
But before we get too carried away,
Yeah.
I'd love to explore
Yeah.
some specific techniques we can use to cultivate more stoic resilience
I'm ready.
in our daily lives.
Let's do it.
So in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to get really practical. Okay, so we've talked about how Stoicism can help us deal with life's ups and downs.
We have.
But now I really want to get practical.
Okay.
Like, what can we actually do
Right.
to build that stoic resilience in our daily lives?
Yeah.
You mentioned negative visualization earlier.
I did.
And I have to admit, that one really piqued my interest.
It's a good one.
It is.
It's a powerful technique, and it's often misunderstood.
Okay, how so?
Well, people hear negative visualization, and they immediately think like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so negative.
Right.
You're being pessimistic.
Dwelling on the worst case scenario.
Exactly, but it's actually the opposite.
So it's not about attracting bad things into our lives.
Not at all.
Okay.
It's about mentally preparing for challenges.
Okay.
Marcus Aurelius talked about premeditatio malorum.
What did that mean?
It essentially means the premeditation of evils.
Okay.
But again, it's not about being morbid or dwelling on negativity.
So how does it actually work? Do we just like sit there and imagine all the terrible things that could happen?
Not exactly.
Okay.
It's more about approaching it with a sense of detachment
Okay.
and objectivity.
Okay.
So let's say you're worried about losing your job.
Mm.
Instead of trying to push that fear away,
Yeah.
you might visualize that scenario.
Okay.
Imagine getting the news,
Yeah.
feeling the shock, the disappointment,
Yeah.
and then working through the practical steps
Mm.
you'd take to find a new job.
So it's like a mental rehearsal for dealing with a tough situation.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're playing it out in our minds.
Yeah.
So we're less likely to be totally caught off guard if and when it actually happens.
And by visualizing it, we can start to identify those things that are in our control,
Okay.
like our attitude,
Okay.
our work ethic,
Mm-hmm.
our willingness to adapt.
Okay.
We can even start to brainstorm solutions.
Yeah. It's about taking back a sense of agency
Yes,
in a situation that feels really scary and unpredictable.
it is. Instead of being paralyzed by fear,
Yeah.
we're taking proactive steps to prepare ourselves,
I like that.
both mentally and emotionally.
Okay, so we're building up our resilience by actually going through it in our minds.
We're teaching ourselves that we can handle those difficult situations, that we have the resources to cope with whatever happens.
Okay, negative visualization. I'm getting it.
Okay, good.
What are some other Stoic practices for building resilience?
Another one is journaling.
Oh, journaling.
The Stoics were big on self-reflection,
Mm,
using writing to process emotions,
okay.
examine their beliefs.
I love journaling.
Me too.
It's such a good way to clear your head
It is.
and like process things.
Yeah.
But how does it relate to Stoicism specifically?
You can use it to reflect on your day,
Okay.
identify moments where you reacted impulsively,
Mm.
or let your emotions get the best of you.
Like getting frustrated in traffic
Exactly.
or snapping at someone you love.
Yes, by writing about those experiences,
Yeah.
you can start to see patterns
Okay.
in your behavior and your triggers.
So it helps you become more aware of your thought patterns and emotional habits.
It does. Once you're aware of them,
Yeah,
you can start to challenge them.
right. And choose more constructive ways of responding.
Exactly. You might realize that your frustration in traffic
Mm-hmm.
comes from a need for control,
Interesting.
or that you snapped at a loved one
Yeah.
because you were feeling super stressed.
It's like becoming an observer
It is.
of your own mind.
Yes.
Rather than
Right.
being swept away by every thought and emotion.
Exactly. And journaling can also be a great way to cultivate gratitude.
Oh, yeah. Gratitude's huge.
It is.
It's so easy to forget to be grateful.
It is.
When you're caught up in the hustle and bustle of everything.
By taking time to write down what you're grateful for,
Yeah.
you shift your focus away from what's lacking.
Okay.
Appreciate the abundance.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that reminder
You do.
to be grateful for the simple things.
The simple things, a roof over your head,
Yeah,
a warm meal.
your health.
Yes, the love of your family and friends.
It's so important.
It's huge. And gratitude is a key ingredient for
Yeah.
happiness and contentment.
The more we focus on what we have,
Yes,
the less we're consumed by what we lack.
totally. And even Marcus Aurelius himself,
Really?
it's a gratitude journal of sorts.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he would reflect on the virtues and qualities
Hmm.
of the people in his life.
Interesting.
He knew that gratitude was powerful.
Okay, so we've got negative visualization.
Yes.
Journaling.
Yes.
What else?
This one might surprise you.
Okay, hit me.
It's the practice of voluntary discomfort.
Voluntary discomfort.
Voluntary discomfort.
Okay, that doesn't sound very fun.
I know, right?
Why would we intentionally make ourselves uncomfortable?
It might seem counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but it's about challenging ourselves
Hmm.
to build resilience
Okay.
and appreciate what we have.
So like taking a cold shower.
Exactly.
Or going for a run in the rain.
Yes.
When you'd rather be cozy inside.
By intentionally exposing ourselves to small discomforts,
Okay.
we're training our minds to be less reactive
Hmm.
and more tolerant of discomfort in general.
So the next time I'm tempted to complain about the weather or the long line at the grocery store,
Right.
I can remind myself that I've intentionally chosen to experience discomfort before.
Yes.
And I survived.
You did. It's about putting things in perspective.
It is.
And it's not about seeking out suffering or deprivation.
Okay.
It's about choosing to embrace challenges in small doses,
Hmm.
knowing that they will make us stronger.
I'm really seeing how these simple practices can have such a big impact on our lives.
Me too.
Like by incorporating negative visualization,
Mhm.
journaling voluntary discomfort,
Yes.
we're essentially training our minds to be more resilient,
You got it.
more adaptable, more capable of handling whatever life throws at us.
And it's not about becoming an emotionless robot.
Right.
It's about cultivating inner peace and strength so you can experience the full range of human emotions
Yeah.
without being totally overwhelmed by them.
It's about responding to life's challenges with wisdom and grace,
Exactly.
rather than just reacting impulsively
Yes.
or letting our emotions control us.
And the beauty is it's a practice, not a destination.
Hmm.
We're all constantly learning and growing.
This deep dive has been amazing.
I'm so glad.
I feel like I have a whole new set of
Yeah.
tools and perspectives for approaching life's challenges.
Awesome.
Stoicism isn't just some ancient philosophy.
Right.
It's a living, breathing practice.
It is.
That can really empower us to live more meaningful lives.
Absolutely. And it's accessible to everyone.
It is.
You don't have to be a scholar to benefit from it.
It's about incorporating these simple but powerful principles
Hmm.
into our daily lives.
One step at a time.
I love that.
As we wrap up,
Yeah.
I'm reminded of a quote from Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
It perfectly captures the essence of Stoicism.
What is it?
Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one.
Wow.
Right.
What a perfect way to end our deep dive.
It is.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights and wisdom.
It's been my pleasure.
And to everyone listening, I encourage you to explore Stoicism.
Yes,
It might just change your life.
it might.
Stay curious, keep diving deep,
Mm.
and until next time, take care.